In this video, we're going to look at method overloading. Method overloading is the idea of using the same method name for multiple versions of the method. So let's go take a look down here at some of our code. I have a method right here in this example. It's called max, and max takes a parameter called number 1 and number 2. So we pass 2 arguments into those parameters, and it does a test to see if one's greater than the other, and it returns the maximum of those 2 numbers. Max in this case takes an integer and another integer. All right. Just below that, we find another method that's also called max. This max is a little different. It takes a double called number 1 and a double called number 2. So we have to pass in 2 doubles as arguments to get stored in these parameters. Okay, it's going to find out which one is the largest and return that as a double. Okay. Here we have a third method called max, and this one takes a double, another double, and a third double. And it's going to return a double of the maximum value of those 3. And it's actually, in this case, making use of the max function that takes 2 of the doubles and determines the maximum of that, and then it does it again with the largest of those 2 and number 3. But we don't really care what happens inside these functions right now. These 2 up here are very similar. This one relies on the second one that takes doubles, but we don't care, and Java doesn't care. How it's implemented inside the method doesn't really matter. Java knows which one of these 3 that we're trying to call by looking at the arguments that we're passing in. So there's 3 parameters doubles that are doubles here. There are 2 parameters that are doubles here. This one has 2 parameters that are integers. So when we call these, Java is going to look at the argument, the arguments in this case. So in our first one, we're going to say the maximum of 3 and 4. When we call max, we're passing it 2 integers. We're passing it the number 3 and we're passing it the number 4. And those are integers because integer literals don't have decimal points. So it knows to call the method that takes 2 integers. Likewise, on this one, we're 3.0 and 5.4 are numbers. We're calling max with 2 doubles, a 3.0 and a 5.4. So it looks for a max method that matches a double followed by another double, and it finds one here, and it uses this code. And for this third one, it looks for a method called max that accepts 3 double arguments, and it finds a match here. So Java figures out which method to call based on the type and the order of the parameters. So let's go ahead and run this. The maximum of 3 and 4 is 4, and that is an integer. The maximum of 3.0 and 5.4 is 5.4, also a double. And then these 3 also return a double. The largest is 10.14. All right. What's really important when you do method overloading is they have to be distinct. We can't have 2 max methods that require 2 integer arguments. We can only have 1. Sometimes if we write multiple methods, in this case max, and there are 2 or more possible invocations, Java won't know which one we actually want to run, and the compiler can't determine the specific match, and you end up getting a compile error called ambiguous invocation. So if we can't tell by looking at it which one we're trying to determine to run, Java can't do it either. So you can overload methods, but each of the methods must have different parameter types and different numbers of parameters. It doesn't matter as long as they're not the same. So I could make another max method that takes an int and a double. I could make another max method that takes 3 ints. It wouldn't hurt a thing. I can make another max method that takes a double, an int, and a long. It doesn't matter as long as I don't make another one that has 2 doubles, because that would be an ambiguous invocation with this one that requires 2 doubles. So method overloading.